Okay, here we are. The Moving Foot Masterclass. Your questions answered. Hello,
Hello,
Ricardo.
everyone. Hello, Eva. How you
Hello,
going?
everyone. All right, let's move on through. Good.
So I'll start with a question.
Oh,
Who are you, Eva?
oh,
How you going? I introduced you forward and you can go. Tell us all about yourself.
who am I? Well, hello, I'm Eva. Slightly different hair to the picture to update that. So yes, hi, I'm Eva. I'm a physio, and in the last 12 years, I've really honed my passion and my skill into movement. So I treat with movement. I assess with a physio mindset, but then I utilize movement as a treatment technique. The foundation of that was really in Pilates, which I first studied in 2003 and has sort of been interwoven into my practice over the years. And about 5 years ago, I was in a place of thinking I had it all figured out, and curiosity got the better of me. I jumped down a few rabbit holes, and down those rabbit holes, I discovered, boom, 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 my feet. And since then, I haven't looked back or up. In fact, I've looked down a lot at feet and found feet as these incredible masterpiece, which we know because it is. Leonardo da Vinci has already claimed that tagline, and really looking at feet as a gateway to understanding human movement. So just taking the knowledge that I got from anatomy and motion and interweaving it into my movement physio and Pilates, and just having really great results because I got people moving their feet, and a lot of people don't move their feet. And it was these aha moments for myself when I first found my own feet, but then also for my clients. So I've worked in movement, understanding the whole body, looking at it as a whole, and really finishing up with that. The final bit which was the feet. So the feet then helped me bring it all together, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoy the feet from that point forward. So that's me. And I also I've been teaching Pilates and movement for the last 4 years as well. So I have a real passion for sharing knowledge and just helping to feed into that curiosity that we all have within us, certainly as health professionals when we're looking to help people. So that's another one of my passions, being curiouser and curiouser. So that's me. And my question, next question is, who are you, Ricardo?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Ricardo. I've been an acupuncturist now for, I think, about 17, 16 years. Going down the health route, I thought acupuncture would be a great discipline to study. It's quite old, a long time to learn something and master that system. And then I moved into, again, these rabbit holes, trying to find ways to help my clients. Obviously we put needles in. That's my forte, needles in for pain. And then I realized that sometimes the needles didn't work, particularly for pain. The pain went away, it dissipated, and then lo and behold, it come back. And I'm like, there's got to be something else to this. So one course after another, and started getting, the movement route, doing, varied courses. And then again, I stumbled, like you, into anatomy and motion. And that sort of opened my eyes up to biomechanics and 3D movements and muscles and joints and bones. And now I rarely put a needle in for pain. I can get more motion through the body, particularly the feet, with needles. That unlocks the whole system. And I find that amazing. And clients look at me and I give them the option. Would you like to move more or put some needles in? And they always basically now go with the movement because it just gets them to move better, gets them to feel better, and they take control of their life and their body, which obviously acupuncture is a passive therapy. So they rely on me to come back in to treat them. But the anatomy, motion, and movement therapy that I do provides them with the avenue to help themselves, which is what I love mostly, is giving them the tools to help themselves. And I'm just seeing what I see in terms of shapes and movements and bones and joints, and then telling them what is missing in their movements, and then see what happens, basically. So that was, I think, 5 years ago that I met you in one of the courses.
Yes.
And I've been doing biomechanics and movement now for 8 years, being an instructor of anatomy motion and a mentor in anatomy motion. And I've got my own courses and workshops on feet and movement as well, independently as well. And, the call came from yourself to say, hey, let's do something. And we're here together now, promoting what we'd like to do, share our knowledge and passion for feet and movement in general, which is, wonderful to get started and to grow.
Yes. And, just a great opportunity to wax lyrical about feet, but also just sharing this passion. And in my Pilates training that I've run, I've alluded to this secret body part, the foot, and just introduced a little bit of movement in with my students. And their own aha moments there really led me to think, wow, we should be promoting this, shouting this from the rooftops so people can at least have the opportunity to experience and explore what a moving foot can do for the rest of the body. So this is us here running this, the moving foot workshop, and there'll be more further up the chain workshops as we go. So why don't we just dig on into answering some of the questions that have come through and some of the questions that we thought we'd like to know about, of course, if we were going to do it as well. So we'll just the what's, the hows, and the whys. So yes, now tell me, Ricardo,
Yeah.
what's the thing about the feet? Like, why are the feet so important in this body that we have moving around?
Well, that's the only thing in contact with the ground, the earth, the thing that is connected for you for stability and motion at the same time. So we've got this foot that can be stable, can give us security on the ground, but also be mobile. And that's the beauty about this foot. So at times when you're walking, it can be a mobile adapter. You can move. It just spreads on the ground as a tripod does. And then when you're about to push up, it does the opposite. It has to be rigid and pushing you forward. There's a lot of bones, 26 bones, 33 joints ever in each foot. You know that. But most people think, oh, so we've got a quarter of the bones in our feet and we don't move them. We only move probably the ankle is the only bone that we really move. So the attention now goes to, well, how can the foot move in ways that is beneficial for them to walk? Because that's why we use our feet, to walk. So how do we get the foot to move nicely, easily, and securely, so people have increased motion and decreased pain at their feet and then further up the body? That's how I see what we're trying to do and what we're trying to do in particular.
Yeah. And, we look at human movement and we look at all we know about biomechanics, and then we layer that onto the body in front of us. And this idea that the brain, has a grid of all our available movements. So the movement that we currently do and the postures that we hang out in and how we move that's the information that the brain has. So where you may not have that available range, unbeknownst to you. So, for example, a foot that isn't able to supinate, we call that, the flat foot, which tends to get a little bit of bad press, this overpronation, and we can talk a little bit around terminology so you can be really clear about what these things actually are. But it's actually, if we provide that movement to the body, then what we have there is we filled the grid of movement and we're able to access more. So we've got more awareness, we've got more area that's being moved, and like you talked about there, Ricardo, that stability piece. So looking at how the foot can give us our stability. We're effectively a skyscraper. Like if you look at a size skyscraper, at the bottom to the top, that's us. We're a skyscraper, and the bottom of that skyscraper, don't say that too many times, has to actually be stable. And what's the most stable design? Well, one of the most is a tripod, right? So, we look at how we access that tripod in stability, but then how that tripod changes and moves from that mobile foot adapter through to that rigid lever that allows us to be that catapult that boings us forward into the world one step at a time. So I think that's...
So what you're trying to say, we're highlighting to the brain what parts they're missing.
Yeah.
So that we can actually integrate those new parts that are highlighted and become active to the rest of the system. So then they're getting these newer pathways, changing their feet and the rest of the body to say, hey, we've got a missing party that's coming back into the team. And then the body has to say, well, we can just change everything because we've got a new guy in the team that's been plating our feet, for example, bones and joints.
And we
Cool.
use this very imaginary torch to shine a light in the brain and say, hey, here are your feet. And it sounds crazy because you think, of course, people know their feet are there, but very few people actually really connect down to their feet in the first instance anyway, let alone move it. So that shining a light, bringing awareness to the foot is really key. And it really lends itself to somebody being like, oh, I didn't even realize this, this thing at the bottom of my feet is a moving object. So people often think that's quite a fixed.
You put shoes on them, and then we contain them, squish them down into little bits and pieces, so we can't feel anything. We've got this solid thing, and then we walk on solid ground all the time, without any awareness of where our feet are in terms of the contact points and what they're doing, and what they smell like sometimes as well. But we won't get there. So
there's no judgment on any foot that comes through with smelling or not. And look, I think this idea that the brain just, it strives for efficiency. So it sees A to B and it goes, right, let's go A to B. And maybe or maybe not that A to B strategy that it's had to create, maybe due to pain, maybe due to shoes, maybe due to certain postures. That's now what it does. A to B, this is what we're going to do. And actually the C to D route might actually use the body better, but this is the one that's there. This is the stream, this is the river that's flown, and now it's ingrained. And so how do we change this movement pattern? How do we create more opportunity? And really it's that awareness. And then it's not just about us saying to you, hey, your foot's like that, do this to the foot and hold it like that, because that's not how we operate. We're a moving being. So it's like we embed the information that we can see and that we've assessed for by adding the movement into the picture. And the movement is almost the message that the brain goes, I see you, strategy XYZ, let's make this happen.
So what we're going to do is give you an assessment, which is actually the movement as well.
Yeah.
Which is part of the how that we're going to provide this course and workshop to you with anyone that comes through. So we want to make sure that you feel it. Participants feel the motion in their own body, feel your tripod, feel your arches, feel what the body should do. And then once you feel it and experience it, you understand how that impacts your body and how it impacts your feet and what changes in your body. And we're looking for that change, aren't we? That's how we're going to deliver this workshop. What changes in your body? And the important thing is what never changes, because that's what we need to focus on. Things that don't change in your feet in terms of what joints don't move, what muscles aren't moving, what you can't feel, why can't you feel it? We're going to start with the feet. Obviously, that's what we're doing this workshop for. We know that there's, as you said, a skyscraper above it that doesn't move. We'll have to do some other body motions in this workshop, because that's the whole point, is getting that motion in your feet. But that's how we're going to get participants to feel it, aren't they? To how this motion is going through their body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I qualified as a physio. Yeah, I have my paperwork here.
And that's what you said.
I definitely have it in a long time. And for the longest time, I'm going to put my hand up and say that when I was with my the senior physios that I was learning from, and they'd sort of point and say, can you see that on a body when we were assessing? And I'd think, I don't see it. And then I'd sort of say yes, because I'd assumed I should know what it was. And so one of the really big things for us is that when we're going through the assessments, is that you say, I don't get it. I don't see it. Show me. And we can then say, hey, we can go on better. We're not going to just show you. We're going to get you to feel it. And then you feel it. And then you know it in your own body, and you get to see it in someone else's body. And I just can't emphasize the importance of looking at the small components of what we're made up of, because once we get each of those parts moving well, that's where the magic happens. And to be able to see it is gold, because there's all these sort of fleeting comments. Someone just glances at someone and goes, oh, they're this and they're that. But actually putting our hands on someone, feeling the movement, determining, oh, that's not actually moving. I look from here and that looks like it's this, but actually when I've got my hand on this person and they're going into pronation, that area isn't moving at all. So it's you to feel it. And just to reiterate from what Ricardo said, is the feeling component really helps you feel confident in what you're looking at in your clients. So I think that's a really key part here. yeah, what I might do is I'm going to flick onto the next slide, which is a little bit around the learning outcomes of the course. And I think it's just nice for us to talk to those now as well as we run through them. We've touched on that a little bit from there, and then we'll cover off a few more questions. So, all right. So the learning objectives here, we really want you to be able to master those intricate movement patterns of the bones in the foot. And for some people, it'll be a aha moment in itself that the foot moves, because, you know, we have, as Ricardo said, put the foot into an object that doesn't move it. Its first purpose was to protect it, and now it's come all this other things that they think a shoe needs to do for a foot, but a foot's a foot. You know, it's biomechanically sound on its own. Prior to our intervention, afterwards it needs a little bit of help, but we want you to be able to look at those bones in the foot and say, oh, this bone isn't moving, or it is moving. Now, when you have bones, you have joints, and when you have joints, you have movement, and the joints actually give the muscles something to do. So we could talk to you about all the muscles in the foot, and there's definitely relevance to understand that. But if your foot isn't moving, the muscles aren't working, and that's where it comes back to that bones, joints, movement. Muscles are like, good, thanks for moving me now, thanks for moving the joint, now I've got something to do.
Yeah, they're there to protect us, aren't they? They're there to load and do something. The act in the joint and the bones are doing something, and the muscles are protecting us and pushing us back to a different position, basically. I think that's the key, is looking at each structure and naming each structure, saying what motion it does, and then getting you to feel, does that motion occur in your own feet? And then seeing other people's feet and saying, well, yes, no. So it's not a maybe, it's not a little bit, it's a yes or a no, quite clear. Because then when you do see it or feel it, you'll understand, that's the motion that I'm after. And we're talking about three-dimensional motion. That's what the key is, not just one plane or two planes, but three planes. And we're going to break down the foot in three different parts. And if we include the ankle, that's going to be four. We'll put the knee in there. It has to talk about the knee just a little bit, but we need that biomechanical understanding of the whole foot, how it moves in 3D, and then what it does, which is a second point, when it pronates and supinates, which I think is understood, but we're talking about a whole leg that is supinating and pronating, what every part is doing. Now, again, we're going to concentrate on the feet, but we have to bring in the rest of the body in some degree, so you feel the entire foot in a pronated and a supinated position.
Yeah, and the thing is we start with feet, and this series starts with feet, and the following series after this will be further up the chain. The reason why you can't just have feet on their own is, you know, you guessed it, everything's connected. And actually, pronation, I said it, I did it with my foot, and the world didn't end. Bonus. But pronation in itself is a whole body movement. So when we can move the foot well, the pelvis and the foot, their relationship, you know, so it's everything's connected. But actually spending the time understanding the foot gives you the foundation to then, literally the foundation to then kind of build on from there. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And you know, this idea of you know, we're talking here about a foot on the ground, closed kinetic chain. And one of the things that I struggled with when I was learning about the foot, not only because it was the end of my first semester and we had exams, so I kind of rushed that part when I was at uni, but actually there's a lot of misinformation, because there's talk of the foot movements and they differ. And those differences do come down to whether the foot's waving around in the air, wiggling the toes, or whether it's on the ground. And for this course, and for the relevance of function and how the foot was designed to work, we're talking about it on the ground. And when it's on the ground, it's the 3 points of contact, which we talk about with the tripod: knuckle of the big toe, knuckle of the little toe, and the heel. And actually, when we have those 3 points, will help you understand the terminology and how it will make so much more sense. So pronation, supination are those three-dimensional movements that can occur in the foot. They happen in the side-on, sagittal, the front-on, frontal, and the rotational transverse. So that is a movement that happens in all three planes. And then there's inversion, eversion, rotation, abduction, adduction. There's all these different things, which, you know, when you think of it like that, it just goes, but ultimately you're going to feel this. So you don't need to know all the terms, but the terms actually land better because you're feeling it and putting it into a picture. So it's yes.
We'll start with shapes. Shapes are the easiest thing to see. We'll see a shape and then we'll name that shape. And once you do that, then this repetitive motion occurs. I see this tilt. We'll call that a shape, and then it has a function. And then that's how we'll start learning the jargon of the motion. So you can see someone's foot and go, oh, shapes A, B, and C. It's doing this. That means the rest of the foot's doing A, B, and C. And then you'll start having this easy peasy way of talking about feet and naming them. And the exercises, it's all recorded. And you'll get this before you come to the workshop, which is great because it takes off the pressure about remembering remembering movements, remembering things. We want to put as much online before you attend the seminar and the workshop, because that means when you're there with us in that time, then you've got, everything about how to feel it, how to see it. And then when you go home, you can just start practicing. We'll practice obviously on the day, but that resource for you afterwards, I think is fantastic to have, because it's just too much information for your head to accept in one block.
Yeah, it took. There's a little bit of unlearning for me when I first learned about the feet in motion, and understanding the fact that we're looking at this biomechanically for when you're moving, not lying on a bed. So this is where there's some discrepancy in terms of terminology, but actually we want to look at the body in motion because that's what the body does, and then we start to be able to link this in. So yeah, there's a bit of a confusion moment, but just to reassure you that confusion is the really key part before you understand. So we want a little bit of confusion, but we'd prefer you to have confusion, have covered off aspects and felt things in your body before you come. So this is why we ask for this sort of pre-learning, and we provide this pre-learning material for you so you can understand things, or have more questions as well, when you join us. And once you come in, we can cover off a few things. It's not going to just be a lecture. We're going to get you moving. And really this acquiring the skills to assess foot posture and movement accurately, you've just got to you've got to practice it, and you'll be practicing it on each other in the course so that you get to then Monday. And one of the things that Ricardo and I have said, what's really important to us with this course, it's Monday, not the Monday months after, but the Monday after the course, you have that client in front of you and you can start using this assessment, these movements, these exercises straight away, and you can incorporate it into your program, whether you're an EP, whether you're a physio, whether you're a myotherapist, whether you're a chiro, osteo, acupuncturist, OT, anybody who has that health professional background, Pilates instructor, everybody can actually take this and go, okay, I can now utilize this. And you then mold that a little bit into your practice, but it comes with these principles of the moving foot. And so the other
will be after the session. That's why the Zoom call afterwards, it's answering your questions after the workshop as well. So if you've got any questions or thoughts or want to go over some key points, then we'll give you that Zoom call afterwards to answer any questions as well, which is sort of a bonus. So we're there to help you as much as we can to use the material and understand what you're doing and applying it to your clients and yourself.
Yeah, the mission here is that no foot left behind. We want every person's foot to experience the movement, and we want these bodies to improve. We don't want to just give one exercise that they do that they don't feel better in and just keep that kind of constant turnover. We want to help people get better and empower them as well. And the things that that people come to me about, with these specific conditions, we will break down these conditions into how they develop really from a foot that isn't moving. We've got plantar fasciitis, we've got bunions, and that's a really interesting topic because we talk about this, the term dysfunction. I don't like the way that sits when I talk about it, but I look at strategies, because actually we are incredible human beings and we find these workarounds, but sometimes the workaround ends up in an area not moving and then problems occurring, or sort of repetitive load through there. And touching on, the plantar fasciitis, the bunions, the Morton's neuroma.
Neuroma, hamatoes as well, we can go over. That's quite nice.
So
the common stuff. Bones that are out of joint position. Yep. Yeah,
we'll touch on, we'll give you this is the condition, but actually shapes, a moving or non-moving foot, you could tap in. If this foot doesn't move this way, what are we going to get? This and this. So what are we looking at? Are we trying to diagnose, or are we looking at the moving foot? So we can kind of combine those, and it really does. It just lends itself to simplifying something that's complex. We're not saying you're going to get it straight away. It takes time, and that's why, like Ricardo said, we are there, in that Zoom follow-up. And also, like, we love questions. So, there's also opportunity to ask questions.
You need to see feet and many of them, and seeing what shapes and what they can and can't do to say, everything like that. It just takes time. But we're here, as you said, to help out as much as we can.
Yeah. And look, I think for me, it's about give me the exercises. I need 3 or 4 exercises I can just start my client on right now. Yes, I want to understand it, and yes, I want to be able to assess them, but I just need to get them moving and do this. And this is where we've also looked at our own experiences going on courses and implementing definitely the feet side of things, and understanding what's going to help them. And look, sorry to dampen anyone's hopes that they were making a difference, but spiky balling the foot on its own, picking up a towel with your toes, there's a place for that, but the foot's got this intricate movement to it, and we want to give you these skills that actually allow someone to benefit massively from the exercises.
No balls, no tissues. We're going to be using wedges. Move the foot, but we want to go past that. We want to actually go and see what is the function of the foot. How does it move? How can we make it increase the motion or decrease the motion, and get it to 2 shapes? That's all. Pronation is one shape, supination is the other shape. And that's what we're after, without complicating it with balls and tissues and whatever, or what else that else, basically.
Yeah. And I still like a spiky ball, but I'm just saying that that's not going to answer the questions that your foot's asking of you in terms of how am I supposed to move? And it's movement that we want to bring to the foot. So yes, we've covered off those learning objectives. I'm going to hit the button for the next slide. Yeah, it's happening. Hit the button. What next? So the course that we're running, would love you to join us to share in our passion. You don't have to join the foot cult just yet, and we certainly won't ask you to drink the Kool-Aid, but there is a sign-up form at the end. We just want to find your feet and just help your clients move better, because it's not ankle up, and it's not just doing your glute exercises, because actually, if you think about your extensor chain, where does the extensor chain start? In the foot, so all these people are talking about, oh, my glutes don't work, my glutes aren't firing, my glutes are asleep.
But the foot's already pronated, the chance of the glute firing is probably 0.
So let's get that foot moving, and then we'll see these glutes taking off. People will be running around. So check out the links. There's lots around, on the websites and whatnot, and then you can find out more information, and shoot over a question as you wish. What's the here and here. And we look forward to waxing lyrical about feet and getting feet moving, and saving the feet, 2 feet at a time.
See you in the workshop.
See you.
See ya.
See ya. Oh. All right. Let me just.
You've got. You did 40 minutes, isn't it?
And I'm going to say.